Islamophobia is a term that has become common in the United States in the last few years, especially after the tragic events of September 11th. Because the perpetrators carried out those horrific acts in the name of their faith, Americans were quick to generalize anyone of Middle Eastern heritage as a radical Islamic fundamentalist. These feelings of fear and resentment have been central to the growth of Islamophobia in America. The day that our country was attacked, a lot of Americans were left with the question of who to blame. When it was learned that the man who planned the attack was the rich Saudi Osama bin Laden, many correctly associated the blame with the man himself, as he had previously attempted to bomb the World Trade Center not a decade before. But most Americans looked for something bigger to blame, something more general, and that was Islam. Sadly, the country began to see all those who identified themselves as Muslims in a negative light because of the actions of a few radicals. Suddenly, the country that had once opened its doors to people of all faiths and people of all ethnic backgrounds was ostracizing those who practiced Islam and anyone who looked to be of a Middle Eastern origin. Worse, since September 11th, not only has it been citizens who have had heightened suspicions towards Muslim Americans, but government agencies as well. According to the CNN blog, a long view of the response to terrorism since 9/11 suggests that Islamophobia, an irrational fear or suspicion of all Muslims and Islam based on the actions of a few, is increasingly legislated and enforced. The most recent example of this comes from the city that bore the brunt of the 9/11 attacks. Revelations surrounding the NYPD's surveillance of Muslim communities in Brooklyn and Manhattan show that, without specific evidence of criminal activity, police officers teamed up with the CIA to form a clandestine intelligence program that spied on ordinary Muslim Americans. If Islamophobia is making its way into our institutions that we trust, such as law enforcement agencies, who knows where else the paranoia has spread? For all John Q. Public knows, Islamophobia could have leached its way into our highest forms of public office and be influencing our policies and the way we live and the way of life as this is written. That seems a little radical. But who is not to say that Islamophobia did not influence the passing of the USA Patriot Act in 2001, an acronym which actually stands for Uniting and Strengthening America by Providing Appropriate Tools Required to Intercept and Obstruct Terrorism. USA Patriot. Many Americans felt that the USA Patriot Act infringed on their constitutional rights, and this was an excuse for the government to spy on American citizens, predominantly Muslim American citizens. At the time, Al Gore called for the act's repeal, accused the Bush administration of suspending civil liberties, and claimed that the government was using fear as a political tool to consolidate its power and to escape any accountability for its use. In 2014, American Islamophobia is at an all-time high, much to do with the rapid expansion of the militant Islamic fundamentalist group ISIS that has made headlines recently with several high-profile executions of Americans, including James Foley and Stephen Sotloff, and numerous declarations to wipe the United States off the planet. We only have our former president to blame. After toppling Saddam Hussein's regime with the invasion of Iraq in 2003, George W. Bush left the country in ruin. Fast forward to 2013, we see the toppling of Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria, and the formula for disaster starts to unfold as the neighboring countries have been left defenseless and ripe for the taking. The feelings of fear and resentment that characterize Islamophobia are being stirred up again in Americans who see entire countries toppled by fighters who are willing to die for Islam. Americans need to realize that not every Muslim American is a fanatic, and those that support the terrorist group ISIS are extremely minute. According to the Boston Globe, religious persecution and murder are a direct violation of the Quranic and prophetic teachings of Islam. ISIS atrocities go beyond beheadings and crucifixions. They commit mass murder and destruction. They exploit and persecute innocent people. We need to clear our minds of the atrocities of 9/11 and the horrific acts committed at the hands of ISIS militants to realize that These are extremists and do not represent the entire religion of Islam as a whole. I would like to conclude with a quote from Nelson Mandela. No one is born hating another person because of the color of their skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Thank you for listening to my Pechuchka.